Some of them, and as they're reading the scriptures, this first thing, they were in awe, right? So as they're reading the scriptures, they're learning, as their lives are changing, as they're fellowshipping together, they're in awe of this community. We should think that way. And some of us, I know you've experienced, it's like, man, I'm lonely, I'm struggling, I'm hurting, but I have this church family that just comes around me when I need it. And it puts you in the sense of kind of awe, like, wow. You ever been awestruck at how much somebody loves you? I mean, that's kind of what they're describing here, but it even went beyond that. It wasn't like just, oh, wow, that's so cool that you love me. It went, I want to love you back. And so they started looking around, they're like, man, within our community, there's some people that have some needs. I have all of this, they have nothing. Like, it wasn't like the pastor was up there going, okay, sell all of your stuff, and we're going to collect all the money, and we'll start distributing. This was an issue of the heart. This was a believer that was sitting right next to their brother or sister in Christ, worshiping alongside of them and looking and going, man, I have so much more than they have. How can I help them in their need? It says they would go as far as to say, man, I want to help this individual so badly that I'm willing to sell some of my stuff so that it helps them. That's beautiful. It's beautiful community. We see this. It happens in the church. People come up and they're like, hey, I want to anonymously kind of help this individual. Here's some funds. Can you kind of do this? Yeah, absolutely. Or you go, man, I got this, and I really think of the Lord. Like, okay, Lord, you sent this to me, but I'm eating, and I have clothes, and I have a house, so it must not be for me. You must be giving this to me so I can give it to somebody else. Who is that? I love that. That's basically what's happening here. Man, I've got more than I need. They don't have enough. Let's make this work. You see this community that's kind of building around this idea of the gospel. It's a direct result of the things that we talked about earlier, those 4 things that they were doing, right? If you're reading the scriptures and you're fellowshipping together and getting to knowing each other and building relationships and really getting into each other's lives, and you're in the midst of kind of daily cross activity and you're praying, of course you're going to think that way. Of course it's going to impact you, and it impacted them. The 4 essentials led to action. Let's keep reading. Verse 46, it says, day by day, attending the temple together and breaking bread in their homes, they received their food with glad and generous hearts, praising God and having favor with all the people. There's so much here that is amazing. But, okay, a couple of things. So first of all, we know they're meeting in kind of 2 separate locations, right? There seems to be this large corporate worship that's going on at the temple, but then they're also fellowshipping together in these small groups. And then you go, is that really biblical? Yes. It is. There it is. What are they doing in small groups? It looks like they're sharing meal together. They're doing life together. They're serving together. They're helping each other. They're looking at the needs of their community, and they're pouring into those needs. And then those groups are coming together in this kind of large corporate worship to be encouraged and praise God together for what He's doing even in their smaller communities. That's the picture that we see. It says here that they had glad and generous hearts. Glad and generous hearts. Well, where did the glad and generous hearts come from? A direct result of the community that was being built, which was a direct result of the things that we talked, the 4 essentials we just talked about in the gospel. One of the things I hear in Boston a lot is, I'm just not happy. I want to be happy. I won't get into this thing about joy and happiness being together, totally different. But when somebody just says, I want to be happy, that happiness revolves around happenings, right? I can make you happy really fast. I really could. You could come in here miserable and I could hand you $1 million cash. And you'd be like, I'm really happy. Why? Because something happened, a happening occurred that made you happy. I can also make you really upset. Right? You could walk in here and I could curse you out. I wouldn't be very loving. I won't. But I could. And guess what's going to happen? Your happiness is going to leave very quickly. Right? I mean, it revolves around these circumstances. Why were these people like glad, happy? I mean, this word glad goes beyond kind of happiness, but in this instance, they're enjoying the fellowship in this community that they're surrounded around. It doesn't mean that they're just giddy all the time. But overall, there's this sense of happiness, of joy. Of going, man, I'm surrounded by people that love me. I know that if I'm in dire need of something, it's going to be covered. I'm okay. Like, the world's, we live in a sin-cursed world. I'm a sin-cursed individual, but as far as like my life goes in general, this community I'm involved in it's wonderful. What an awesome, awesome thing. And it says they were generous. One of the things that I get so irritated by, and I'll tell you another story, and I'm not trying to pick on the South at all, okay? It just happens to be a church in the South, but so I won't give the name of the church. So I walked in, and there was this huge building. Huge. Okay? I mean, massive. And I'm like, okay, this is big, and it looked brand new, and they did their service, and there were like 20 people there. And I was like, wow, this is a big facility for such a small number of people. And I got to talk to the pastor afterwards. I'm like, so where did the facility come from? Like, what is this? And he goes, oh, well, we're getting old. Our average age is like 70. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty old for a church. And we're dying out, and we just thought, well, we've got all these millions of dollars sitting in the bank. So we figured, well, maybe if we upgrade our facility, more people will come. And I want to start crying. Are you kidding me? So I said, well, how much did you put in the facility? He said, about $1.5 million. For 20 people? I'm like, how did it go? Well, we haven't really seen anybody else go. How long ago was that? Oh, about a year ago. That's rough. It's rough to hear. And I as Christ followers, I mean, you hear this a lot. Like we're told as Christ followers by the world around us, you're not to judge people. Actually, that's not biblical either. It says in Scripture that we are to judge fellow Christ followers. Right? So if I see somebody who claims to be a Christ follower saying they want to live a life that's worthy of who Jesus is, then it is my job as a fellow believer to encourage them in truth and love and judge the way they're living. So I did. No. I didn't. It blew my mind, though. I thought, man, okay, so that's not what I read in Acts. That's not generosity. That's selfishness. I remember attending a church in New York once, and we were pretty pleased with how things were growing in this really dark community. And they were doing this capital fund because they were going to build a new building and so on and so forth. And I'm like, I looked at Christy, I'm like, pull out the checkbook. We need to write a check to these people. This is great. And then the pitch came. And the pastor stood up and he looked at his congregation. He's like, we're really full in here and you guys are really tight. So when we build this new building, you guys are going to have way more space. You're going to be able to spread out. I'm like, put the checkbook away. Because what a terrible reason to build a bigger church, right? So that my people are more comfortable. That's not generosity. That's not what I read here. I mean, to see a community that says their hearts are glad and that gladness is overflowing into generosity, the church needs to be generous. But I feel like the opposite's true in so many aspects. One of the things that I've kind of said, and we hear it a lot. It's like, okay, do you take offerings? Yes, we do. Over there. I just pointed it out. Do you pass a plate? No. Why? We get criticized for this a lot by church world. Because I don't want that to be what it's about. I don't want it to be about people just giving money because they think that this is what the church is about. I mean, that's what the church's reputation is already. Of course, funds are needed to make things happen. But if people, that's one of the biggest hang-ups that we see. What would happen if a church was actually generous to a community? So the Well Coffee House, I mentioned this a little bit. So each month we highlight a different local nonprofit. So the local nonprofits that we highlight, we make sure they have no religious affiliation whatsoever. And you're like, well, that's weird. No, it's brilliant. Because they go, well, wait, a church started this nonprofit coffee house. Yes, and you're willing to help fund us as we're doing good in the city. But it's not religious. Yes. Guess what happens? Barriers start to break. Why would you do that? Well, because Jesus died for us and that was free, and you follow. We give away so much money. Our realtor, he calls me every other week and he's like, Kevin, you're stupid. And that's the word he uses. You need to see, you guys want to see this thing grow and you want to see more, you've got to stop giving so much money for it. But the impact that it's having in seeing an organization be generous, it's huge. The church should be generous. Generous, right? What was the result of this community that was meeting together, doing these things, and had glad and generous hearts? Verse 47. It was praising God and having favor with all the people. Are you kidding me? Favor with all the people. This isn't talking now specifically about just the people in the community. This is talking about Jerusalem. It means that the community of Jerusalem, it means the ones who didn't believe, the ones that they're trying to reach, are looking at the community of this church and going, wow, that's new. You guys are happy. You love each other. You're generous. That seems very attractive to me. Go figure. Right? Favor in the community. How did these apostles reach Jerusalem? It's pretty much spelled out for you. They focused on Scripture. They focused in prayer. They focused on being glad and generous. All of that generosity and all of that happiness and all of that praise fell out the way that it's supposed to in gospel living, and it impacted the community to the point the community went, wow, we're really glad that church is here. I wonder sometimes, I know we're infant church, like infant. But I wonder sometimes if Church of the World were to be just completely eliminated, it was gone, would East Boston feel it? Like, would they miss us? Because isn't that how we reach, isn't that how apostles reach Jerusalem? I mean, I think at that point, if the apostles were like, okay, we're packing up shop, we're out of here, Jerusalem would have felt it. This is what we're trying to seek after. We want to get to a point where the community that's being built here in the gospel is actually impacting the greater, our Jerusalem, I guess, of East Boston and Winthrop and even Boston, in such a capacity that they're like, man, I hope this church never leaves. I'll tell you a success story. This happened with the coffee house. And this is just a fun one, right? So the fact that there's a nonprofit coffee house inside of South Station that was started by a church is another miracle. There's a waiting list. There's 250,000 people a day that come through South Station. There's a waiting list for businesses to get in there. And it's a long story on how we got in there. It was awesome. Totally God, right? But there came this point where we thought it was coming to an end, like 6 months ago. Because our ticket to stay in there was through a sublease of a bakery, and the bakery called me and said, hey, we're done. We got to close shop up. I'm like, oh, that's bad. An hour after I got off the phone with the individual from the bakery, I get a call from South Station, the guy that does all the leasing there, and he says, look, and this is his words, you guys have been such a blessing in here, we just want to make sure you stay. I'm like, what? He says, he's not a believer. But what he sees is that we're doing something good there that's impacting the community for a positive. Because we really want you guys to stick around. And so they offered us a 10-year lease. I'm like, really? Okay. I'll think about it. It's amazing what happens when church is doing what it's supposed to do. And then there's this moment, I think, in church history that every church should long Like, this is the epitome to me of what we want to see transpire. Because as all this is going on, in the background, we think it's all us, right? But the Lord, it's all Him. And He's the one kind of moving things, and He's the one that's providing the grace, and He's the one that's saving people. And He's the one that's turning hearts. We get to this statement at the end of verse 47, it says this, and the Lord added to their number day by day those who were being saved. Honestly, I've been in ministry a decent amount of time. The last church I pastored was a very large church with lots of influence and lots of money, and I've worked in places that, I served at a drug and alcohol rehab program for men, so it was pretty low, and I've worked in places where, I've kind of done the whole gamut here, and I've never seen this. Never. This is the cry of my heart. Right there. I can't imagine being involved in a church that is impacting its community and the Lord is using to such great, overwhelming potential that He's actually bringing new people into the church every single day who are getting saved. That's overwhelming to me. Like, I picture how this would look. It would be like, okay, I'm about my daily activity, and I get a phone call from one of you that says, hey, I just want you to know, like, I just met with Bob at coffee, and he just gave his life over to Jesus. He'll be at church on Sunday. He wants to be baptized. And I'm like, awesome. And then the next day, I get the same phone call from somebody else. And the next day, the same. Every day? Are you kidding me? Day by day, the Lord was adding salvations to the church. This isn't like, oh, well, that's so cool. Like 4 people got baptized last year. Every day. But that should be the heartbeat of the church. That every day, what's going on, the Lord is using us in such amazing capacity, and we're privileged to actually get to see people move from darkness to light every day. Do I believe that that's possible? Yes. Why? Because it's right there. Do I believe that it's possible that we as Church at the Well can actually build a community that's so gospel-centered that day by day the Lord actually chooses to see people come to know Him? Yes. The question is this your goal? Because this is why we call this together, right? Because we can't do it on our own. I can cast visions on blue in the face, but if nobody follows, what's the point? This is what we want Church at the Well to be about. This is what we believe the mission is. To empower people to the point where they're so, and build a community to the point where it's so gospel-centered and you're living the gospel so well in your life that day by day people are being added to salvation. That you're almost overwhelmed with what's going on. It's like, man, I have a meeting with this guy and a meeting with this guy, and both of them came to the Lord, and now I've got all of these meetings piled up. I'm like, that's awesome. What an awesome life. That we're doing things in the community that are drawing people in, and you're getting the opportunity to talk to people about who Jesus is and what He's done in your life. You're listening to their stories. You're building relationships, and day by day, that influence continues to increase. I mean, think through this for a second. East Boston actually has the ability to become a launching pad for worldwide ministry. How does that happen? We have to reach it first. You want to talk about a community that would be changed? It'd be huge. I mean, we know statistics of Boston. It's one of the most influential cities in the country. In fact, there's 2. The 2 most influential cities in all of the United States are San Francisco and Boston when it comes to culture. Can you imagine what would happen in the United States if a place like East Boston, there was revival in a place like East Boston, and became a launching pad for worldwide mission? Are you kidding? Everything would change. So as we look at this, and we're like, okay, He says, look, this power is going to come upon you. You're going to have the ability to make this change. You're going to have the ability to impact. You're going to start in Jerusalem. We have the same order. We start here. But is it your vision? Is it what you're a part? Is it what you desire? Well, I'm going to say the thing that is probably the most painful to say by any pastor, and it's this. If what I've just presented to you is not in your heart, you're at the wrong church. Find another. And I'm not saying you're not welcome. You're always welcome. But I am saying this is what we're going to be about. This is where we're headed. This is what we're here to do. And if your heart doesn't beat there, there are other churches. There's other places that you can go that maybe even could be Bible, that could teach you some Bible and less, hey, we need to get out there. There's places you can go that you'll be more comfortable. But if, we say all the time, if we have a slogan, it's truth, love, community. Right? This is church is about truth, love, community. We always want to be truth, we always want to be love, and we always want to focus on our community. If that resonates with you, that's where we're headed. You're in the right spot. We need people who will join us together to live life on mission. And this is the mission that we're after. And it's not my mission, it's Jesus' mission. We as a church are here to reach first and foremost our Jerusalem. So what do we do with this? Well, the first thing, I don't know, maybe some of you are listening to this and you're like, wow, that sounds like a community I want to be a part of, but I've never really even been part of a church before. You may be saying, I don't even know Jesus. Well, that's where it starts. You can't really be a part of the community unless you know the source of the power of the community. And so it begins with this. It is you saying, okay, look, I need to give my life over to Jesus. I want that. I want that gladness. I want that community. Well, it starts with a relationship with Christ. So if you're here today and you haven't made that decision, and maybe your heart's kind of pounding, and you're like, man, I want to know more about this Jesus, then I'm going to give you an opportunity as the band comes back up and we sing a few more songs for you to ask some questions. And so here's what you can do. We're going to take communion, and the first thing we're going to say is, don't take communion. If you don't know Jesus, what's the point? I don't want you faking some religious act. It's not going to save you. Instead, it would be better for you to say, man, I really want to be real here, and I want to know more about this person that's loved me and saved me. So you can turn to the person next to you and go, hey, do you know Jesus? And if they say yes, then say, hey, would you mind me asking you some questions? It doesn't have to be a pastor. But if you think it needs to be, then I'll be standing up here. You can come find me, or Pastor Matt will be standing right over there, and you can walk over to him and go, tell me more about Jesus. For those of you who know Christ, who are part of the universal church of Jesus, my question for you is, how are you doing on mission? Like, think back this week. How'd you do on mission? Does your life define what's going on here? Is that what you were wrapped up in? Or was it something different? This isn't about guilt. It's about what needs to change. It doesn't, I don't necessarily think it changes all at once, but maybe some of you are going, man, I wasn't even in my Bible this week. Man, I had no fellowship with it. Prayer life, man, that's awful. Well, it can change. I love that the gospel promises that Jesus will take us just like we are. He never leaves us that way. And so I invite you to come and participate in communion and use it as an opportunity to respond, because we respond at the foot of the cross. What is he asking you to change? What is he asking you to be a part of? What is he asking you to do? We can say we love Jesus all day, but action has to surround. Jesus came to save, but he also came to put us on mission, and his whole mission is about life change. If we're really his, then we're going to see life change. If the church is really his, then we're going to see life change around us. What a privilege that is. So band's going to come up. We're going to sing a few more songs. I'm going to pray. And I'm just going to ask you to respond however you see fit. God, thank you for your word. We thank you for the truth of who you are and what you've done. Lord, you're amazing. I don't understand why you love us. I have no idea why you love me. Lord, I thank you for that love. Lord, if there's anyone in here right now that doesn't know you personally, has not been restored to you, whose heart hasn't been transformed, Father God, we just ask that you would regenerate their heart right now. Lord, you would move them from darkness to light, that you would remove the heart of stone and give them a heart of flesh. Lord, that you would not only change their heart, but you give them the courage and the boldness to ask questions and talk to someone. Lord, we ask that we would leave here differently than when we came in. Or for those of us who are part of the church who claim to know you personally, Lord, would you help us to get on mission with you? Would you please eliminate the excuses, the fears? Lord, you use dirty, rotten people like me. Lord, would you remind us of that? Would you remind us that there's no condemnation in Jesus, just grace. Lord, I pray that you would build this church, Church at the Well, up, and other churches in this area up to be on mission. Lord, would you help us reach our Jerusalem that you've put us in, so we build to impact a greater number of people. Lord, give us courage and boldness. Help us to speak truth in love. Reveal to our hearts what needs to change. We pray this in Jesus' name.
In Christ alone, Christ alone. You're the God of the city. You're the King of these people. You're the Lord of this nation. You are. You're the light in this darkness. You're the hope to the hopeless. You're the peace to the restless. You are. There is no one like our God. There is no one like our God. Greater things are yet to come. Greater things are still to be done in this city. You're the joy in the sadness. You are. But there is no one like our God. There is no one like our God. Let the word begin with me. Fill my heart, move my feet. You're with us. glory has come, so God gave His life. Let Jesus Christ be known wherever we are. We ask not for ourselves, but for your renown. The cross has saved us, so we pray. Your kingdom come. Let your kingdom come. Let your will be done, so that everyone might know your name. Let your song be heard everywhere on earth, till your sovereign work on earth is done. Let your kingdom come. Give us your strength, oh God, the courage to speak. Perform your wondrous deeds with those who are weak. Use us as you want, whatever the test. For grace will preach your gospel till our dying breath. Let your kingdom come, let your will be done, so that everyone might know your name. Let your song be heard everywhere on earth, till your sovereign work on earth is done. Let your kingdom come, let your will be done, so that everyone might know your name. Let your song be heard everywhere on earth, till your sovereign work on earth is done. Let your kingdom come, let it come, let it come.
Well, hey, thanks for being here today. I hope you can say it was good to be here. If you have any questions or comments, you can come see me. If you have remarks, there's Pastor Matt back there, and see him. Don't forget, sign-ups are in the back. Thank you. This Saturday, we'll be outside at Burns Street Park, so I hope you can come and invite as many people as you like. It'd be nice to pack that place out. And then I did forget, so on the 18th, which is a Sunday, I'm not exactly sure what time yet, but the Coelhos are going to have the whole church over for a Brazilian barbecue. So, 12 to 4. Okay, so it'll be in between services. So basically we'll leave here on the 18th. We'll head over to the Coelhos in Winthrop. And do they need to bring anything? No. Nothing. So free Brazilian barbecue. So write that in your calendar. And then we'll go to worship in Winthrop from there. Okay? So I don't have to forget the food. That's crazy. Let me pray. We dismiss. God, thank you so much for who you are and what you've done for us. Lord, we pray that as we go about our week, that you would open our eyes to see what's truly in front of us. Lord, would you remind us of your mission? Would you put the gospel not only in our hearts and in our minds, Father, but in our actions as well. Lord, we ask that we would see people the way that you see them, that we would provide what's needed, that we would be glad and generous people. And Lord, that you would continue to build this community up to something that would have favor amongst our Jerusalem here in East Boston. Lord, we ask that you would just continue to do amazing things, that we would serve you with all that we have. Here, we pray that you would receive all of the glory for it. In Jesus' name. Amen. Go and be a blessing.
I'll get yours too. I'll collect you these. I don't know if I'm allowed to throw this in here. I don't think so. I don't think so. Which is not good. This is paper. This is plastic, so a lot of cans. I don't know.